and welcome to another edition of Trader Talk TV. Today we've got Rob from Audiences in the office. Rob, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Today we're going to talk about first-party activation, but before we do that, I'll get Rob to give an intro about himself and the company Audiences, because it's a newish company, but I'd say a lot of people in ad tech would love to know who Audience is and what they do.
That's kind of you to say. Well, my name's Rob McLaughlin.
Yeah.
Formerly and kind of like formatively, like head of data and decisioning at Sky, sitting across the buy and the sell side of media.
Very good.
Got me close to wanting to use data, first-party data in advertising pretty quickly. And one thing led to another, and we came up with a pretty cool idea for how we bring first-party customer data straight to advertising as quickly as possible, so you can all do all the amazing things that you want to do with it.
All right, very good. We're going to talk about first-party activations, actually quite timely given Google's decision to not deprecate third-party cookies this week. You know, who could have thought it?
It's fascinating.
It is fascinating. But we're here to talk about first-party because first-party is key to everything. And Rob's kind of come in to talk about the product. And I think we're going to map out the product now about how it works. And I'll ask some questions around it because there's actually quite some interesting sort of nuances around where they're positioned in the ecosystem. So Rob, talk about, you know, the audience USP, right? Because you are working directly with brands. That's one of the key things. And you are working with the first-party data. So could you map out just a sort of overview of where you sit versus what typical CDP sits, and sort of talk about the media ecosystem that you buy into?
I'd love to. And of course, you know, everyone's wanting to connect the data that they have within their company. Yeah. Could be a brand most often, could be a publisher. Yeah. And the data that they've got is increasingly, and I would say, you know, in 2021, 2023 when we started, 90+% of organizations that we meet, they've got this data on something like AWS, GCP, or super prevalent now is Microsoft Azure. Yeah, so really beautiful places for you to store.
Which went down this week.
I know, it's interesting stuff, right? And they're using stuff like Snowflake, or Databricks or BigQuery, to organize that really beautifully into nice data warehouse tables for like loads of good stuff.
So like an infrastructure database to kind of like make sense of it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Okay, so these are the four walls of your organization, lovely. And this is where all your first-party data is, your intelligence is. Mm-hmm. The big old dream, and we didn't invent this, the industry has been wanting this for years, is that you're going to connect it, to your advertising. And, you know, so that's really exciting. And what is that advertising? Think search, obviously. So Google, Bing, etc. Social, so Meta, TikTok, Snap, on and on and on. LinkedIn, super cool for B2B. Programmatic, they've been coming to the party, more and more, be able to ingest first-party data. And connected TV, I mean, just amazing what you can do with that. So the big dream, and this isn't just our dream, but it's the industries, it's advertisers excited for how do you get all of your beautiful first-party data, safely and securely to advertising. Okay, so the existing and legacy way of doing it is to use a CDP. To use a CDP or something similar to a CDP. Think Segment, Telium, Adobe Marketing Cloud, Salesforce, LiveRamp, that kind of stuff. Okay, and there you're going to build some more data. And how are you going to do that? You're going to do it by copying it. So you're going to be copying your data. And here, surprise, surprise, they're putting that data again in AWS, Azure, or GCP.
Right.
And we're going to ask a few questions, right?
Yeah.
Like, is that a duplication of technology?
And cost.
I mean, for sure, and it's reflected, no doubt, in the commercial models. Definitely of cost. If I'm a data person, which I am, duplication of data, that is really frustrating and unpleasant from a governance perspective. Really importantly as well from a information security and privacy perspective. Okay, so imagine, I've got all my data here and I push a version of it over here. How do I make sure that this one's up to date? Because this is where I'm doing all the beautiful supposedly activation and advertising. So I'm seeing consumers over here. What about, guaranteed consents are changing constantly. New people are changing their consents. Real time, it's completely out of the window. I'm working with a copy of the data. forget about your real time. So fraught with issues here, okay? And, I'll quote Dentsu and GroupM, both of them, they publicly say that less than 3% of the media that they buy is informed by first-party data. Right.
3%.
3%.
Wow.
Yeah. So this isn't working.
Right.
Okay? From an industry perspective, this is not working.
So where do you sit here? Like, so you've got sort of the first-party data here. They've got their infrastructure play here, the AWS, Azure, their cloud infrastructure, their database layer. Where do you sit in that sort of mix, and how do you work then with the first-party data, and then subsequently push it into the media channels?
This is where we take a completely novel approach, right? So Audiences is a lightweight application which sits and runs inside the client's infrastructure.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an application which sits inside of the client's Azure, GCP, AWS, where the data already is. Good news, okay, so it's able to do three things. Read that data in real time and in situ, where the data is. So anything that happens next is all going to be real time off the real data set. Also omni-channel. So the data that companies got here is not just from online, but it's also what people bought in the contact center or in the store. Yeah, so it's running off like that beautiful omni-channel data set that they've no doubt invested millions in building. Okay, so Audiences reads it, which is lovely, reads those data warehouse tables. It allows you to build segments from that data. Okay, so we provide a beautiful user interface, again running inside of the company's infrastructure, yeah, which allows them to drag and drop Boolean logic, all of that beautiful stuff, and it's for marketers. Yeah, so they do that there for the first time. They're able to query their data and create the groups that they want, whether it's to exclude, target, build lookalikes, all that good stuff. And hey, it's all about activation. So we allow you to connect, those segments of data that you want in a completely encrypted, hashed way using SHA-256 directly to advertising, which is what it's all about. We're all about activation, putting nothing, and there is nothing, in between your data and the advertising that you want to activate.
So this is all based around deterministic data, right? Effectively finding your audiences here, right? Question people ask is, well, okay, companies need to get new customers, right? What about the idea of prospecting, right? How do you account for that? Because the idea of meshing first-party data and second and third-party data is that you get some kind of scale and you're able to kind of reach a whole new sort of potential of customers, right? Grand to target your own customer base, 100%, great. So upsell all the rest, but the key the key sort of premise of brands is to grow, right? Increase revenue, increase the customer base.
I couldn't agree more. And it's almost counterintuitive of the strategies that our clients roll out. Like the third one is most often targeting their existing customers, cross-sell, upsell, and that's super powerful.
Yeah.
Drive value, blah.
Huge.
It's really, really good.
LTV,
But the first two strategies, I should say, really, that they want to do. First, and you're going to think this is boring, is for acquisition, exclude all of your existing customers.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So massive mobile provider that we work with, amazing telco. The first thing they wanted to do is they wanted to exclude all of their existing customers from the acquisition marketing.
Yeah.
Make that same money, go harder, go faster. So do that. Deterministically exclude your existing customers. Hygiene, but super powerful. Makes those QBRs with the media agencies far less painful.
Yeah.
Okay. Secondly, and it's all about reach, and I couldn't agree more. So use your first-party customer data to create seed audiences, whatever your version of a good-looking customer is. Okay, so it could be value, it could be the channel that they came to you, say with insurance, direct buyers far more than going to price comparison websites. Okay, use that seed, in the likes of Meta, Google, the Trade Desk, etc., to then model and get that incremental quality reach that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. It is, we are all about scale and reach, and enabling you to use your first-party data to blow out your acquisition goals.
You're also saying that you're encouraging customers to kind of mesh all this data, but you're thinking that taking your first party here and doing it within the domain of the media platform is probably a better process in terms of the scale issue?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind me saying so, it's not probably. Your first-party data, if you want to use it for activation to drive growth, whether it's acquisition, like we were talking about, or customer value, you want nothing in between your data and the advertising platforms. If you want to talk about how you use algorithms to grow potential reach, or if you want to use third-party data to like augment what you're doing, these guys are absolutely amazing at it. They're in bed with the idea of buying more media and contacting more people. The magic all happens at the DSP. The idea that anything's going to happen your end, it's all a bit dull. Maybe you might want to do it for some insight use case. And I think there are a lot of people doing a great job on that. What we want to focus on, and have always focused on, is how do we activate at massive scale in your digital advertising channels.
So just sticking to the programmatic conversation for a minute, it'd be interesting to know how you work with a DSP, so the integration and how you match data. So how do you bring this first-party data and the segmentation piece you've built here into some of the Trade Desk or DV360 or an AdFoam or whatever DSP you're working with?
I mean, you might even find it disappointingly simple.
I love simple stuff. Look at me, I'm a very simple man. Simple needs.
Well, look, those simple needs have met because, two methodologies, API, from your infrastructure, this connect thing here, that's our suite of APIs, which are working here and can connect directly to those DSPs. So there'll always be an initial push, right? There'll be like hundreds of thousands of records or millions of records for the first time, encrypted going. But then you want to carry on TikToking over the ads, removes, changes of preferences, and you want that to happen daily or even more frequently. Or even real time. So we're doing that. And then in some cases, and this really enabled us to pick up, I don't really want to say the laggards in programmatic, but those whose tech stacks have been like maybe a little bit like unloved, we can push via batch. So SFTP, all of that, S3, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's the language of a lot of the industry, and that's cool by us.
Yeah, okay, so you can work with that. On the sort of a privacy piece, obviously privacy is hugely important here. Is this a better model than sort of pushing stuff into third-party platforms to mesh? And then you just talked about like opt-outs and having the control. So does the brand have that control over like opt-outs? And is that by making it the source, it's a much more sort of like hygienic way to do this type of first-party activation?
It absolutely is. So if I go back to audiences as an application running inside of your environment, it's reading the data that you've got. Many brands and publishers have probably been through some quite painful and costly consent projects and things like that.
You referenced Sander, who's being currently sort of investigated for sort of breach of GDPR.
It's difficult.
Yeah,
it's really difficult. And we just want to hook into the good work that brands and publishers have already done. So audiences is reading the data schema, the tables you've already got, live seeing where the preferences on consent and stuff like that are. So from a data privacy perspective, and there are two components here, like data privacy perspective for consent, you're only using the live consented data, to fulfill your use cases should you wish. And then further to that, audiences, because it's an application running inside of your environment, it is not a data processor. Okay, you're not sending data to us like you have to with other systems. Okay, we have no servers.
Right.
You can't send us data. Right. We're an application that
runs within the domain of the
and
brand.
You're already the data processor. And by the way, data processor is a GDPR term. And you're already happily collecting and processing the data of your customers. By using audiences, you're just doing the same.
Is your focus then the brands? Can you work with agencies as well? I mean, what's the dynamic there in terms of your customer set?
Yeah, so we work directly with brands and publishers who want to activate their first-party data and advertising. And two really important things there. One, they're the ones who live and breathe the objectives, so want all the good things that happen. So it's a great commercial relationship. Secondly, technically, you would have picked up, audiences is running inside of their four walls. So we must have that contractual relationship to make sure that's all working beautifully there. So yes, but the agencies, both the big networks and the indies, are amazing partners of us because everything that's happening here and driving into the advertising channels, like it's being picked up in the ad accounts, which is in most cases being run by those agencies. So we're providing them like goodies to enable them to do their job better.
Yeah.
So we try and get as close as possible.
Okay. I mean, I think that's about it really, because you've given us sort of a nice sort of walk through, particularly around sort of working directly within the brand versus sort of like third-party platforms, and sort of the privacy piece, the power of first-party data. Given that's happened this week with Google, it's timely to talk about first-party activation. So Rob, thanks very much for coming in today.
Thanks for having me. It's great.
And that was Trader Talk TV, and we will see you next time.